Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. I'm Harper LaBelle, along with All-American and University of Washington Husky alumni, Dave Hoffman. And Dave, we're going to go over the Big Ten schedule in just a moment. But before we do, I just want to make a quick mention to folks. For another week, we're going to talk about Faith with Works, a local charity here in the Atlanta area. They're going to have a rally at Woodruff Park on 91 Peachtree Street. It's just a couple of blocks away from the Grady Hospital downtown. Everyone knows where Grady is. About 4 or 5 blocks west of that, 91 Peachtree Street. It'll be on Friday, September 19th, a week from today. 9 o'clock. Janine Rice has devoted most of her life now to helping the homeless situation here in the Atlanta area. If you would like to contribute money, they will gladly receive it. If that's not your style and you want to give a gift card, or you want to go shopping for somebody, then here's what they need. Obviously, food. They need non-perishables all day long, every time we do that. But first aid equipment, toothbrushes, toothpaste, towels, baby wipes, clean water, things like that. If you have it in your heart, you're already giving to somewhere else, the next time, if you would consider Faith with Works, it would be greatly appreciated. They're looking for assistance. Obviously, the holidays are coming up, but this is a problem, as we well know, that takes place more than just once a year. So we appreciate your help. Faith with Works. Instagram, you can reach her by It's by Janine, Jennine, and it is greatly appreciated. Dave, the Big Ten show has to always start with what's going on in the Big Ten. And one of the things that I want to talk about this week is the University of Washington Huskies. They're 2-0, but they have a bye week. It's early in the schedule. What are your thoughts here about the Huskies getting the week off so early?
Well, I'll tell you what. The only good thing about it is that it's before the Apple Cup, and that's what they, for the rest of the world, that's what they call the big rivalry between Washington and Washington State, and it's one of these games that goes back and big trophy handed back and forth, and the Cougars always play really tough in it. And actually, my last game as a senior back there, what they call the Snow Bowl, it was about 4 inches of snow on the field. We lost to them, and it was right before we were going to our third Rose Bowl, but that one was a sting, and Bledsoe got us in that, and of course we didn't have our cleats to go back and change into like they did. We were on the road, but in a way, there's some great things about having the bye, and then there's some other things that maybe you wish it was later in the season so you could heal up a little bit from some of your scrapes and bangs, but that's how the schedule is, and so the Huskies are going to have to go with it.
Yeah, well, being 2-0 obviously certainly helps. And the good news is that there's a second bye later on, so you get to take advantage of that. And you can't have everybody on a bye in the same week. The TV networks, obviously the Big Ten schedule, no one would allow for that. So I think it's a little early. I know I wouldn't want it, but you know what? If you schedule it right, you can really make it into something worthwhile. Let me tell you what I mean. Brad Edwards, who went to the University of South Carolina, was a teammate of mine with the Falcons. He had played with the Washington Redskins. And one week we were on the road. We were in a hotel. I don't even know what we were doing. Brad was a financial guy. He had a business, actually, where during the offseason he would stock trade and Series 7, and he had a bunch of people working for him. And I go, what are you doing now? He goes, I'm just looking at some mutual funds. I go, are you looking forward to the bye week next week? He goes, yeah. I wish it were like what we had in Washington. And I go, explain. What do you mean by that? Joe Gibbs put a philosophy in place where 1 week they had their bye week in week 6. So they had played 5 games. And at the end of training camp, when they finally had the team, but right before they played their first game, Joe holds a meeting. Everybody's kind of paying attention, but they're really not. And he goes, gentlemen, I got one thing I want to say to you before we start this season. Every game that we win in the first 5 weeks will count as a day off towards the bye week. And now everybody's leaning forward and go, what? What did you just say? If you lose every game, you will not get a day off. We will practice as hard as we are practicing now in 2 days. But if you go 5-0, you get 5 days off. And the place erupted as if they had just won the Super Bowl. They focused in a different way for the whole. They went 5-0. Joe honored that. He gave him almost a full week off. He worked him hard when he got him back. But Dave, I'm telling you right now, as soon as I heard that, I said, what a great idea for a pro coach to do. Now, you can't always do that in the college game, but I'm telling you, just what a motivational thing. It's almost as if, when you get in the pros, someone says, I'll give you $50 if you
Yeah.
get a really good block and we
Yeah.
score a
Yeah.
touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want the $50. I mean, so the
Yeah.
motivation behind it was amazing.
Beautiful incentive. I'll tell you what, that's one thing, as you know, as you get into the season, there's nothing like a day off. And they're so rare. And of course, in college with Don James, we didn't see many of those, but,
No.
but in the league, it's a little different. And you know, the a little bit different coaching style. And so, yeah, what an incentive. I would love that to be written into my contract.
Yeah. Now that I think of it, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
something I'd prefer to have there, but unfortunately we didn't get it. All right, so let's look at some of the Big Ten action. You did mention just a moment ago, we will talk just a tad. What were you seeing, or what have you noticed between Washington, first couple of games, Colorado State, UC Davis? These are tune-up games, obviously.
Yeah.
The Huskies, at least in my opinion, are we running the ball well? Does the offensive line look good? Is the defense getting beat deep, or is there something like that? Right now, they're just seeing if there are any holes in the armor. I don't think there are any. I think I got a pretty solid lineup if I'm a
Yeah.
Husky fan or if I'm a coach. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Harper, I totally agree with you, and I really think it's just a matter of the Huskies, especially on defense, just fine tuning things. Everybody, playing assignment football, knowing when you have contain or gap responsibility or a coverage area, zone, pass things off, and just get better at overall communication. And I notice I see a lot of times in zone coverage, you see linebackers and safeties getting back to their area and then just staring at the quarterback the whole time instead of keeping your head on a swivel, seeing who's coming into your zone, playing it kind of like man to man when it comes down to your zone and that having that kind of attitude. And that's I saw a little bit more of that this last week. I saw a little bit better pass rush and then and let's just be honest. Colorado State was a pretty solid football team, and they and as you know, they've always have players and they always have a good coaching staff. And so that was that was not going to be a walkover by any means. But I'm sure they are going to enjoy the week off. I don't think it'll be mentally it's going to be a week off. They might have some lighter practices and that kind of stuff, but they're going to be amped up and ready to go when they come back.
Are the things that you look for from a linebacker position where I'm talking to the guys in front, hey, you got to move, you got to slap the guy over a half a man, or at least on the other side if he's got a shade to the left and to the right. And then when you put your arms up and you look around, you got a signal, and now the secondary has a separate signal, and the corners are talking to the safeties. Is that something that you watch for in terms of just the ability to communicate, even if it's in a hostile environment? It hasn't yet, but for guys to turn their heads, to look around, is that something from a scouting report that you think is pretty important from the defensive side?
I really do, and for me, it's almost impossible to watch the game and not think of those type of things. And
Yeah.
for example, getting the reading the lineman when it's a zone coverage play, inside linebackers typically, and the best way I've ever learned to do it is read the lineman and not just one lineman. Read like three of them if you can, and see it once. You see the offensive line kind of as an animal, and it's moving and its tendencies, and so really you're guessing. And it's an educated guess, but from the film and the tendencies that team has by down and distance, by formation, by personnel, and then when they break the huddle, you find out what they're lined up in, and then as things get going and they make their adjustments, you're adjusting to those things, and the communication key is really big, and having guys prepared for what you might call or you might check to, that's always a great thing to do during the practice week, and that so guys kind of know what your tendencies are and what you're probably going to go to when they make this adjustment or this type of shift. And so it's just nice to kind of communicate during the week and then just have a steady flow and continuation into the game, because like you said, Harper, it's under pressure now. It's under violent situation. The game's on, it's heated, the battle's going. So to have that already kind of tucked in your pocket's a nice key.
Now that you're an old guy, you're a former. What do you watch if it's on television? I tell people all the time, hey, I'd love to watch a game with you. I have one friend, he goes, I want to come over to your house and I want to watch the way you watch a game. And I told him, just don't watch the ball. and you'll be
Right.
fine. I pick something. I watch the left tackle some plays. I watch the linebackers some plays. I watch the receivers. The camera will eventually take me to the ball. I'll get to it
Right.
somewhere. But I'm watching footwork. I'm looking at guys and seeing, man, did he get a nice placement from the offense? Was the tackle really able to hook the defensive
Yeah.
end and hold the point so that the back can get around? What do you watch? What are things that you really are kind of keyed into to make the game a more valuable experience for you?
Yeah, so as a former inside linebacker, my eyes automatically go to the box, which is the offensive and defensive line and the linebackers and the running backs, kind of that box as we call it, Harp. You remember that? And what I'm doing is looking for gap responsibilities, looking for get offs on the D line. If guys are getting off on the ball, if they're staying low, and the linebackers, I'm also watching for their read, how fast they get the read, and we're talking milliseconds. This is especially at that level, and watching to see if guys are wasting a step. To the casual observer, just a little step to your side is nothing. But in that game, it's so fast, it's so nasty that's a waste. And so I'm looking for guys who aren't wasting any motion and are just going straight downhill, or at least as far downhill as they can. And what that means is not taking lateral steps to get leverage or outside contain on somebody. Being able to it's a very physical way of playing, but it's what wins championships. And I
Right.
look for that, and like you said, for the contain responsibilities, and then I look for pass coverages. I try to find out if it's zone or man, and then what kind of. And sometimes it's a split coverage, as you know, and so it's fun to watch and see how guys are adapting to their job and to the great players they're playing against.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Some of the intricacies that you would be looking at, the splits. Why is he a
Yeah,
little bit wider? Why is he half a foot wider than where he was on the last one?
yeah, the
Light in his
stance,
hands, heavy in his hands.
right?
An offensive lineman that has big eyes and is looking around,
Yeah,
especially if he's going to pull. Do you look at the backside guard at all? There's not a tight end
always.
nearly as much.
Yeah, exactly. Looking for everybody's stance, and then some of the little giveaways that they have. First, you start looking for it in film, but sometimes, as you know, you can't see things until you're down in the ditch with them, and so it's kind of
Yeah.
it's one of those things. You see them a little lean, and then some tendencies that go on, and and you keep them in your mind, and you find ways to communicate with your defensive linemen, with touches or with verbiage that that they know what you're talking about and what it's probably going to be. And I always think it's nice to have to kind of guess what the play is going to be, and you can always adjust after it. It only takes a millisecond to do that. So
Yeah, yeah. Tom Brady has said on numerous occasions, he goes, I started studying Kansas City. This is when he was with Tampa. And after 2 weeks, right before the Super Bowl, I knew before they would do it what they were going to do. I just
right,
knew. And film study, obviously, and familiarity with certain people, certain coaches, all of that kind of stemming together can make for a really interesting way. Let me ask you one more question before we
yeah,
get into
yeah,
the show. I remember in high school, I would always peek into the huddle when I was playing defense, and it wasn't much, but my senior year, I got to play on the defensive line a little bit. And why am I not? If I hear red 42 toss right, I know
that's
it's a
right,
run. And then
that's
he
right,
goes on two, hold your water. I'm telling all my guys,
that's
hold your
right,
water.
that's
I,
it,
I, I don't know anybody that does that anymore because the clap has made it different when quarterbacks do that, and they have the fake
right,
calls and Omaha
that's
and all
right,
this other stuff.
that's right.
But that to me was just you
It's a giveaway.
I'm not stealing if you're going to just say it loud enough to where I can hear it. You better
It's a
shut up.
gift. It's a
It's like
gift.
baseball. When
Yeah,
I
that's how
steal
you
the
look at
signal,
it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I'm with you, Harper. And that's there's so many things to the game that not everybody sees, but it all comes down to common sense and taking what you can get and giving your team the advantage. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it'll always be.
yeah, yeah. All right, well, let's get into Big Ten action right now. Indiana State goes to Indiana. That game is tonight, Dave. There's a
Yeah,
couple of games here on Friday evening. This one starts at 6:30 local. 2-0 Indiana. They're number 22 in the country. They're taking on 2-0 Indiana State. So this is an
right.
in-state rivalry. It's obviously a money game. There are going to be about 3 or 4 of them this week that we'll talk about. But all kinds of Indiana State has the ability right here, probably bring a few recruits to the game, put them on the sideline
That's
too,
right.
and take advantage. You're probably going to take a loss. You're going against a top 20 team in the country.
Right.
However, take advantage of the situation. Take the check, play as hard as you can, and take your wounds a little bit. But this is obviously a
Right.
big game in the state of Indiana. It doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot in the rest of the country, but it's a big game. And for the kids at Indiana State, they're going to be on national television, maybe for the
That's
first
right.
time in their
That's right.
career.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
And this is really the last big tune-up for the Hoosiers before they get on the Big Ten train and start riding it week to week. And I think for the payday that you were talking about, it's about $500,000, and I kind of thought they would have been getting a little more, but I guess it's not that far. Maybe it's a mileage thing. I'm not sure how much they get, and maybe there's more in the TV deal. But just to answer that, it's about $500,000. Looks like 475 to be exact, and
Okay.
it'll be a good game, and it'll be but I don't know how long it'll be a good game for. Exactly.
Hopefully, both bands get to play, and it's
Maybe if it was
exciting for each of the
basketball, yeah,
schools. But
right, yeah,
Indiana should walk away with this one. I'm worried right now. If I'm at UCLA, we're struggling right now. We've got a couple of things that are going on. Let me get my stats here.
This is going to be a tough one for
I
UCLA.
know.
I think, and I think they're just struggling and trying to get their identity. Is what it feels like, and it's just this is you don't want to say a must win, but it's a must win, Harper.
They shouldn't have a must-win game against New
I
Mexico.
know. I
It's
agree.
unbelievable. Deshaun Foster, the head coach. Okay, so I'm thinking this, and I'm not in their locker room. I'm just talking. I'm just expressing something. If you don't agree with me, that's fine.
Right.
And I don't have inside information. But Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback who transferred from Tennessee, and there was a lot of money controversy. Tennessee said no when he asked for a raise. He had agreed to a certain amount. He's only a sophomore. He's the leading passer and leading rusher. 63%, 6.2 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's a high number. 6 sacks in their first couple of games. Dave, the writing for me on the wall is they're not getting along in the locker room. These guys they're not on the same page, and they may not even be very good teammates right now. I'm not blaming anybody for that. I'm just saying they should have easily walked away and be 2-0 right now, but they're not. And if they lose,
you're right.
I'm telling you right now, locker room cancers.
It is, and I'll tell you, I think that gets overlooked sometimes in this portal world that we're living in. These guys are hopping around and don't always have the time to build these relationships and that team chemistry that's so vitally important. Especially in football.
You got to beat the guy in front of you, but you're not going to do it if you don't like the guy that's with you.
Exactly. You got to have a bond. You have to have that unspoken bond, and especially when you go on the road. But I'll tell you, just even getting off to a good start and enjoy seeing the guys that you're playing with. Of course, we're not saying that it's a horrible environment in the locker room because we really don't know. But the thing is, usually it portrays on the field what's happening behind the curtain. So that's that's kind of our guess.
Yeah. And I don't know. I expressed at the beginning, but I did say, I'm assuming, which everyone knows what that means. I'm also saying, though, it could be that there's a problem and it hasn't been addressed and it hasn't been fixed. But winning can cure all things. Chuck Knox, when I was in Seattle, goes, winning. Hey, he had that big, he would always start every sentence with either hey or see. See, I'm telling you right here. Hey, winning cures everything. In a way it doesn't, but in a way it does. So hopefully the Bruins get things turned around here. This will be at the Rose Bowl. It is at 10 o'clock this evening. Tomorrow, Northwestern gets to host the 2-0 Oregon Ducks. Northwestern right now, where are they? They are 1-1. They can't do anything offensively, Dave, or at least I'm not very impressed with some of the numbers they have right now. And if I'm Oregon, hey, just cruise, guys. Just do what you do, and we should get away with a win here. This is their first conference game for the year.
Yeah.
A big one for Oregon, especially on the road.
Yeah, Northwestern, they brought in this quarterback, Preston Stone from SMU. Back in 2023, he took the Mustangs down there to a 10-2 season and took them into some postseason playoff stuff, and they were really rocking and rolling. Of course, he gets up and it's up there to Northwestern, up to the big Chicago, and is having a little tougher time playing up there. He's got Griffin Wild, who came in from South Dakota State, and he's a really good receiver. Has proven himself, but they've really got to get some connections going and move the ball. And they're going to need to throw the ball if they even want to have a chance to stay in the picture, which is going to be tough. And they got a 3 running back rotation. Porter's their top guy. He's actually got a really good what is his average? 7.5 yards a carry, and
Yeah,
that's
he can
yeah.
tote it. He's good.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the Ducks just got to stay healthy. They haven't played Northwestern since 1974. Not that that really means anything, but it's just a friendly stat if you're playing a Trivial Pursuit or anything. And they've been averaging, as always, they average so many points. And so far this season, after the first 2 games, they've been averaging over 50 points. And almost, you hate to say it, but you don't expect that to be any less this week.
I used to think that if you could complete 2 out of 3 passes, that you were bringing it. You had your A game going. Dante Moore is at 77% thus far in the season.
Wow.
He's completing more than 3 out of 4. He's 11.1. No, he isn't. He's 10.9 per reception and 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Preston Stone, on the other hand, 3 touchdowns and 4 picks this early in the season for Northwestern. So I don't think they're going to try to run it very much. They're going to try to shorten the game down and run as often as they can. But Oregon ends up going to Northwestern. Here's another big game. If you're in Tuscaloosa right now, I don't know what you're thinking. You're going, we're 1-1 right now. We did lose to Florida State, turned it around last week a little bit, but the Wisconsin Badgers are a different team. This could be a huge win for the Badgers if they go into Alabama and steal one. They're going to have to work to get it, but they can steal it. It's on the table. They can take it.
I see that too. And just like you say, there would be a huge win for Wisconsin. It would also be a huge loss for Alabama. And, you don't play because you're scared to lose. You play because you're excited to dominate and excited to win and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, Alabama's got to be thinking, especially their coaching staff. Kalen DeBoer, man, wonderful guy and a great coach, but he just needs to get these guys going. And they've got to start playing some defense. They've got to start playing more physical. And everybody's got to get all fine-tuned on the game plan. It just looks like they're just a little lost and not sure of their identity. And, they're the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's a little awkward to watch this.
It's kind of funny, Dave, in that for over a decade, nobody said a word because Nick controlled everything. And the results speak for themselves. Don't question the coach. Don't boo. Don't do anything. The biggest criticism Nick ever had was, you're not making enough noise and you're leaving too early for some of our blowout games. And he was a little upset about that. Now, I don't think they can get a first down and somebody's going to question it. It doesn't matter what they do. Hey, this isn't I see that. I don't know if it's a genuine problem there, but it would make it hard for me to coach because everything I do is being analyzed and reanalyzed, and even the players, that's hard. Real quick with Luke Fickell's team here at Wisconsin. Danny O'Neill, I just mentioned what was going on in Oregon. Danny O'Neill, quarterback for Wisconsin, he's got 403 yards in the air, 76%. Again, he's completing 3 out of every 4 of his passes, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks here early in the season for the Badgers. All right, let's move on to the next game. Another 12 o'clocker. Central Michigan takes on Michigan. And I'll say right now, the Wolverines, home game, you expect this. I get it. But a tough loss against Oklahoma last week. And I'm imagining right now that they're going to take this out on any one of the Central Michigan players.
Yeah, there's got to be, excuse me, Harper, there's got to be some serious rage coming out of that Michigan locker room. And when they step out into the big house, I'll tell you, they've got to unload. And they're going to want to. I'm sure it was a very intense week of practice, and I'm sure the team has a great game plan. And I look for them just to explode right from the start. And honestly, hopefully they're playing their 2s and 3s by the end of the third quarter. But Central Michigan's put some teams together over the years, and they're not going to lay down for anybody. All those guys know how to play ball up in that area, and so it's gonna be a battle either way. But I'll tell you what, Michigan's got to be on fire.
Well, you know that every Central Michigan player wishes they were just a little bit better in high school and got recruited and get a chance to go to play in the big house for Big Blue. But both teams are 1-1, so it should be 25-30 point game. From the history But who knows what's going to happen? Central
Right.
may say, no, well, this is our year, and we're going to pull an Appalachian State upset, just like what happened about 15 years ago. I don't know much about Houston Christian, but I do know they've got a dog there. So there's another Husky in the house, and they're going to go against the Huskers. This ought to be a blowout. This is a payout game. I get it. But Chris Rule in the not Chris Rule, doggone it, the
Rule. Yeah.
Matt Rule,
Matt.
excuse me, should be just one of those games. All right, let's get through this. We're going to play our second, third string guys, hopefully
Right.
before the end of the third quarter, and everyone's going to get a chance to shine. Your thoughts here about this one?
Yeah, it's one of those kind of pay to play games, and they're going to go out there and make the trip and do it. It'll be a great experience, for the Houston Christian coming in, and they're going to have an experience that they'll share with their grandkids. Going into that place is just an unreal environment, and it's just so much tradition and classy fans, and it'll be a great experience for them, even though they're going to probably get beat by 70 points. But God bless them all, man. Yeah.
I say this with all due respect. The Houston Christian, the offensive linemen, they're all going to take a picture together at the end of the game from the end zone with the scoreboard in the background, and it'll be something that they treasure forever. I agree with you wholeheartedly. This will be a huge Super Bowl type experience for them going against the Huskers in that stadium and all the history in it. God bless them. I hope they have a great time while they're doing it. And if they score a couple touchdowns, that'll make it even better.
That's right.
In the battle for the Maryland area, Townsend Tigers have always had a very competitive Colonial Athletic Association connection, and they produce some good players out of there. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'd bring every one of my recruits. I'd go to Maryland. I'd say, here's the Terps, and we know they're good, but we're going to fight them with everything that we got today.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time to be out there in the parking lot, having some tailgate, and enjoying all the great Maryland people back there. They really enjoy their sports. They enjoy their football. And so I expect that hopefully they have a great day of weather. And fall's kind of kicking in a little bit here. And so, hopefully they have a great day out there and enjoy the game no matter how bad they get beat. But like you said, Townsend's got some athletes, and it'd be fun to see them, do some special things out there and put a few points on the board.
Malik Washington, the quarterback at Maryland, he's a freshman. He's just getting started. 59% for him, 6.6. He has 5 touchdowns, no picks, and no sacks. So he moves around in the pocket real well. And they're not running the ball very well. They're only averaging as a team 3.4 yards per carry, and they do not have a running touchdown yet. Hopefully that changes. But Shalik Knotts, 7 catches, 117 yards for Maryland, 16.7. He has 2 touchdowns. He'll be leading the way for the Terps. All right, Villanova's 1-0. Penn State's the number 2 team in the country. They're undefeated at 2-0. Another one of those money games if you want to do it. But Villanova, another one of these schools that say, you know what, we're going to go up there and we're going to play in Happy Valley, do the best we possibly can. Every year we get 1 or 2 kids that gets drafted, and this is going to be a great experience for them.
Yeah, that's what I see too. I think it's going to be a great experience overall, going up to Happy Valley, and it'll be something that I always remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Next game we're going to look at here, USC Trojans end up going to Indiana and not to play the Irish. This will be the first time in 100 years or so that they've been to Purdue. They're both 2-0. 3:30 kickoff here. If I'm a Boilermaker fan, I'm probably going to, just for fun, make a little bit more noise to see if we can do that. If we go 3-0 and we beat the Trojans, are you kidding me? We're not ranked right now, but we'll at least get looked at. And for the first time in a while, I think this is a trap game, if you ask me, because Purdue could be ready to really bring it, and they can be tough at home if they grow that grass really high so that you can't.
That's right.
You couldn't hit a golf ball in it.
That's what they did to us. Yeah, that's what they did to us back in the. Yeah, exactly. And I remember that's what they did to us. Harper went in there for that Friday kind of run around on the field, and boy, the grass was just probably 4 inches long, and it was, and we were looking at each other like, well, they're sure not going to cut it tonight. The field's already painted. So, anyways, this is going to be an interesting game, and I think anytime you get USC and on the road in your own house, you want to do something, and they've got a history of kind of having some slip-ups as well in big games. And I'm not saying it's a rivalry by any means, but I think Purdue's going to have something to prove, and that's how I expect them to play, with that kind of attitude.
Purdue is 2-0, as I said. Ryan Brown is their sophomore quarterback, 60% completion, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception here on the year. Devin Maccabee is a senior running back. He's averaging about 4.0 yards per carry. He has 3 touchdowns. Jaden Maiava, 707 yards in his first 2 games, 73%, so just below 3 or 4. Now, they've had a couple of blowouts here, the Trojans have. What did they they beat Missouri State 73-13 earlier, and then they beat Georgia Southern last week 59-20. So offensively, Trojans seem to be hitting on all cylinders. Wayman Jordan, their running back, 21 carries, 209 yards, 10.2 yards per carry for the Trojans, and he has a couple of touchdowns. So obviously, big game here, and we'll see how this one turns out. Next, we're going to look at Rutgers. Right now, the Scarlet Knights are 2-0, and they're going against a 1-1 Norfolk State team. This will be at 3:30 on the Big Ten Network. Any thoughts about this, Dave?
Yeah, you know what? I think I think anything's possible here, and Rutgers has got something to prove, definitely, and they're going to, I know Rutgers really wants to play in a big bowl and get things going. This is a must win, but I'll tell you what, NSU has always put teams together, and so it's. I kind of lean toward Rutgers winning this thing, especially if it turns into a running game, and that's always been their kind of key to things. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Rutgers has had a couple of close ones so far this year, but we'll see. Yeah, actually, I got to move my screen a little bit so I can get the Fighting Penguins in here. Youngstown State will go to East Lansing. Should be a blowout here. Michigan State 2-0. Another team that's looking, hey, we go 3-0. Will someone consider us? Can we be in the top 25? But Youngstown State also, they are 2-0 right now. Yes, it's another one of the money games. You do this for your recruits. It'll be a big trip for them. But obviously with the 3:30 start, I'm thinking the Sparties should have a pretty easy time with this one.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And I'm not sure if that's a Penguin or if that's a Raven and a nice stocking cap, but it's
a cold Raven or whatever. Yeah, we got to clarify this just a little bit more. All right, next game we want to talk about here, again, a battle for interstate supremacies and all that. But come on now, you're a number 1 team in the nation. You're 2-0. The Ohio State Buckeyes taking on Ohio. Another money game. Another one where the kids at Ohio wish they were just a little bit better in high school. They were 2 and 3 stars. Ohio State doesn't recruit you if you're not even a 4. So a little bit of bitterness. I think there might be a little bit of pushing and shoving, well-deserved. But at the end of the game, I think the Ohio State linemen are all going to take a picture in front of the scoreboard and just go, hey, we got a great experience to play in the Horseshoe, and we will never forget it.
That's right. And that's the way to look at it, I think, as the experience for the guys coming in. I think that's the right way to look at it.
Well, the number 9 team, who would have said number 9 in the country, Illinois, takes on Western Michigan. Broncos are really struggling right now. They're 0-2. The Illini should pretty much blow this one out. Who knows if their starters even finish the first half, but this will be one of those games where, again, a big payday for Western Michigan. The Broncos could use this. They'd love to be close by the end of the third quarter, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and Illinois' got to prove that their pass blocking is getting better. They got Luke Altmaier is their QB, and he's slinging it around a little bit, but they've already given up 7 sacks, and they're having some issues with their offensive tackle. They're saying J.C. Davis is going to have his hands full, and what he's going to be going up against is this defensive end for Western Michigan, Nadami Tucker, and he's already had 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and forced a fumble. He's one of those guys that's come when I say he's a problem maker, which is beautiful if you're on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
But but if you're playing against them, you're going to have to stop them. And the thinking with Western Michigan is they're going to have to run the ball and be able to have some type of ground game just even to stay in this thing. So.
Yeah. Well, as you well know, Dave, they're going to talk about, hey, 54 is the mic, right? They know you. But if they're also looking at the defensive lineman and they're going, where the heck is he? He's on the left side now. He was on the right side. When you're creating havoc like that. Here's why I want to bring up this Iowa game. Usually UMass is in the bottom 10, and they have been for quite a while. There's jokes and all things aside. Kirk Ferentz doesn't really have a quarterback right now at Iowa. Mark Randowski, 53%. He's averaging 3.3 yards per completion. He only has one touchdown. He has one interception, 4 sacks. As a team, they're only rushing for 4.8 yards. Iowa's offense is really struggling, Dave. If you ask me, this could be a challenge. I hope it's not for the Iowa Hawkeyes, but I'm telling you right now, it might end up being one.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I see. UMass is over the years has had athletes, and they're getting coaches that are better and better, and they're putting some schemes together that really can become problems for teams like the Hawkeyes. And I think when you're first just trying to get the basics down, run the ball well, block. As we were talking about earlier, just communicating amongst the offensive and defensive line, and knowing the guys that you're playing with, and how to communicate. And as it gets to a point where there's guys you just look at, and you know how to block the scheme. Like, you just give your buddy a certain look or whatever, and you know how you're going to handle the situation, whether it's zone blocking, pass blocking, whatever the case may be. And I think the Hawkeyes just got to kind of get to that place where their communication's getting a little better.
Yeah, I have to admit there were times in college where I would line up next to my tackle at a tight end position, and I go, they're exactly where we thought they would be all week in practice, how we lined it up. And it was so easy to do things when it's predictable. But 0-2 UMass versus 1-1 Iowa, that is at 7:30 on the Big Ten Network. Final game of the evening. It'll be a little bit late for all the Midwesterners, but out near your home country, there near Berkeley, this game will be on ESPN at 10:30. Minnesota's 2-0, but so is Cal. This will be a very intriguing game. I'm interested to see. I'm going to peek at this for a little while to see which one can the Gophers go west and far enough away to where they got a chance to win a ball game. And I would call it not a major, but an upset for them to be able to go out there and kind of turn the tide and pull out a win there. But Cal is a good team, and even though they won't have a full crowd, I think it'll be a nice group of kids that are going to go to the game, and then the alumni that are a part of it. They've got a pretty good team this year. Your thoughts here on this?
Yeah, I do, and I think Cal wants to prove themselves playing against Big Ten opponents, and really want to establish themselves. Wilcox has been there now at Berkeley for quite a while, and he's just been right on the edge of the crest of the summit, and he's just quite can't get there. And for them to get into a big bowl game this year, this is one of those games that would really give them some a push in the back, and would be a great momentum booster for them. And what I see with them is they're gonna. Defensively, Wilcox is he's an old defensive coordinator. He really knows the defense. He can adjust to anything that you put in front of him. So really, the issue was just Cal being able to put a few points on the board, and they've got the players to do it. They just got to have the right plan and execution. So we'll see what happens. And I wish Wilcox and the Cal Bears all the luck in the world.
Well, Nico Medved is the head coach here for the Golden Gophers. Drake Lindsay is quarterback, 61% here early in the season, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's about 9.8 yards per reception. Darius Taylor averaging 4.9 yards on the ground. Running back has 33 carries for 161 yards. No touchdowns yet for him, at least early in the season. Dave, let's look at nothing else. We got the off week there for the UW Huskies, and give us your thoughts here before we close out the show.
Well, I'm just excited for another weekend, even though it's Husky-less. Going to enjoy watching the game, watching the Big Ten, and there's so many teams that are creeping and trying to find their identity. So many teams that are dealing with some preseason injuries, and guys that are kind of realizing what they need to work on for the rest of the year. Kind of taking a look in the mirror and having an honest talk with yourself as a player. What do I need to work on? What do I need to do to get better? What do I need to do to help my teammates and my team succeed? And then what do we need to do as a team? And this is about that time of year when you're through camp, when you got a couple games under your belt, and you're kind of trying to really see who you are and what you can do for the season. And it's also a point where confidence is really it's really key. Hey, can we be what we think we can be? And that's when the talk stops and the action happens. And that's what we're going to see this week and the couple of weeks coming up.
Yeah, completely agree. So if you're University of Washington, enjoy your week off. If you're any of the other teams in the conference, you've got some of your extra curricular games that you would have against non-conference opponents. Usually, many of the schools will have one more of those that'll take place right before the big rivalry week there, right around Thanksgiving. But two games that are headliners here. Conference play opens for Oregon, Northwestern, USC, and Purdue. They will go against each other on Saturday. So for Dave Hoffman, the All-American from the University of University of Washington Huskies, excuse me, and Secret Service agent. We haven't even talked anything about your extracurricular career, but that has nothing to do with Big Ten football. But we will discuss it at one point or another. Today, we got to talk about scouting reports and what to watch and what Dave likes to look at before every play and what you can also keep your eye on while you're watching games as well. There'll be plenty of games this weekend. We hope you enjoy them. I'm Harper LaBelle. He's Dave Hoffman. Thank you for tuning into the Big Ten Show. We hope that you have a fantastic